Good afternoon, good people. Today is Sunday, December 1st, 2019. I hope you're all doing well. I just wanted to update you on something I recently submitted to the Commission on Unalienable Rights. It had no effect, nothing will come of it, but I still want to let you know something I did. But before I read that off to you, I want to read a small paragraph from the Declaration of Independence. Most of you are familiar with this, and I just want to discuss this for a minute or so. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, and I take the meaning of all men to mean as all incarnated living souls present here on earth, to continue, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So to take a moment, that all sounds very good. I mean, logical, fair, reasonable, something society should want. But I want to understand the meaning of consent in that statement, consent of the governed. Does consent really mean adhesive contract or tacit agreement or resulting trust or pledge or everything you say can and will be used against you? Or does consent really mean something where someone enters into an agreement knowingly, intentionally, and voluntarily? So I would say that's the gist of a very important question. What does consent mean? Does it mean trick, defraud, inducement, fraud in the inducement? What does it really mean? I don't know, maybe we'll figure it out. So what happened, I was watching over the summer special report with Bret Baier, and he had as his guest Mike Pompeo. And Bret Baier asked him a question on the Commission on Unalienable Rights. So when I heard that, I thought, uh-oh, what's Donald up to? He's working for the people, and I just truly believe that he knows what's going on, and he is going to get it cleaned up. He's going to drain the swamp. So it took me a little while to put together. I didn't want to write a book because I can tend to go on, and I got a letter out to this commission. To find them was a big problem. I had called the Secretary of State's office. It was just a problem. And eventually I finally got a call back, and I had put a letter together, and I sent it out on October 14th of this year. And I sent it to the Commission on Unalienable Rights, Duncan Walker. I guess he handles, he's somebody who works with the commission and gets information, their meetings ready, or whatever he really does. I had emailed it to him directly, and he did confirm receipt that day, as I recall. And it was a letter. I put, my given name at the top with the commercial information on how to send it to me in writing, or he could have just emailed it to me. So this is how I started the letter. Good day, Mr. Walker. First, please forgive me if my writing style may not appear to be concisely coherent. As the subject matter is awkward to discuss, particularly since I realize the Commission is made up of legal scholars, it is trusted this will not prevent the Commission from being open, based upon my interpretation of the overall intent of the Commission's mission, to address potential violations of women's unalienable rights, and to set forth recommendations ultimately to President Trump and Secretary of State Pompeo. Please keep in mind that I have no legal training whatsoever. However, I have many hundreds of hours of self-study time to try and put my head around how the U.S. operates and what is my relationship to the United States. Based upon social common presumptions versus prima facie authoritative cites, the concepts can be a bit challenging to reconcile for an average reader like me. Trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together have not been easy, nor do I make claims to understand everything in its entirety, though there are enough pieces of the puzzle available to sense. There exists an acceptable fraud allowed under law with a clear intent to violate not only unalienable rights, but do so strictly and solely for personal profit and gain, due to underlying rules in place by those in power, and as such, they profit significantly by such rules or laws. To be very clear, I mean no disrespect, ill will, nor judgment toward anyone or the system. On the contrary, the intent of this writing is simply to bring about a change for the better for all of us currently, as well as future generations. Please accept this as my intention for this review and discussion. There are various ways to discuss this subject, and it is a bit difficult to put it all in writing coherently, since there are obstacles that will be discussed toward the end, and we all are familiar with those obstacles. Secondly, I'm delighted this Commission on Unalienable Rights has been established. The title of this commission offers hope for those of us who have tried for years to obtain answers from public officials and been left with non-responsive responses, if any responses at all. Understanding the subject matter being discussed has to do with national trade secrets, which, if you are searching, it really is not secret at all. It does not negate the fact that when public officials are presented with incontrovertible evidence, with questions and as a sincere offer to aid and support an end to a problem rather than be a part of the problem, public officials ignoring their lawful duty to respond and act cannot be overlooked entirely. Realizing the Commission cannot discuss overtly the following for various reasons should not let the subject matter itself be ignored, at least generally speaking. It is too important, and in essence continues to enslave a nation of men and women in favor of private banking interests. The subject matter I asked the Commission to review with the intent how it relates to various unalienable rights violations highlighted in part refers to the Federal Reserve Act, declared national state of emergency under FDR, 40 Stat 411, 415, 48 Stat 1, 112 and 113, the Hague Convention of 1907, Law of Nations, Libra Code, U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, Sestake Vi Trust Act, and 55 Stat 839 through 840. To sum it up in a few words, the rule of usufruct and how, in status, is one able to return to post limine? Or, another way of stating this based on the Commission's title, how does one regain one's unalienable rights when public officials have ignored multiple correspondences? One can't go into court to obtain relief, and there is duress due to threat of harm if one fails comply with the legally false presumptions. It appears we the people, defined here for this writing as current inhabitants of the United States, have been left spoliated, naked ownership, after the declared national state of emergency under FDR. Please try to understand, I have not taken this study lightly. I am not part of some sovereign citizen, the term itself makes no sense, movement, or looking to expose the rigged system. Of late, I nor anyone else need to do this. It's all starting to be exposed by its own weight. My goal is to bring an honest dialogue dealing with the cause, not effect, and I highlighted that and underlined it. The primary cause being the Federal Reserve, a private international banking interest that issues credit to a nation and its people in specie of valueless paper plus interest, which requires more worthless paper to discharge an obligation that can only spiral into oblivion, that can never pay a debt, backed by and through we the people's labor and services, homes, cars, pensions, bank accounts, etc. We the people appear to be the creditors of the nation. All of us since birth have had our labor and intellectual property secretly pledged to private, and that means national and international bankers under a complete con. In my opinion, declared national state of an emergency, no emergency, rules of war on land or no rules of war on land, or under perpetual bankruptcy status, the pledge is nothing short of fraudulent conveyance of property, in parentheses, unalienable rights, through intentional disinformation and for profit. How does a man or a group of men pledge, deliver, convey, assign, transfer another's unalienable rights and not provide, at a very minimum, a notice or information with the right to opt in or out to this legal quagmire? It appears under law, we the people are deemed working capital / property, and all property located within the jurisdiction of the United States has an irrecusable first lien obligation upon it, and I underline that, irrecusable. It appears that the perpetual bankruptcy is just that, perpetual. It too appears that there is no incentive by the Congress or public officials to end this bankruptcy status because of the profit based upon false claims / actions made to property / trust of the state. We the people do not own. One specific question to ask any public official, then get the look of "you're nuts" on their face, and nonetheless is a most valid question to ask. Under what legislative authority is a name to be used as personal identification? With much research, the correct answer appears to be that no such legislative authority exists to use a name as personal identification. Yet presumptively, the name is used all the time for personal identification. The Declaration of Independence offers the following in part. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. It appears that under the current internal system, as soon as one claims or consents implied action to be the name, this is presumed to be a belligerent claim against property, parentheses, held in trust, of the United States, with some presumed status as a trustee de suntort for one's failure to deliver property / usufruct compliant receipt to the authorized trustee. Failure to deliver this certified copy of evidence receipt, meaning the birth certificate, it then is believed 31 U.S.C. 3713 parentheses 2 parentheses B applies. Thus, under the 14th Amendment, Section 4, the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services, suppressing insurrection or rebellion shall not be questioned, but neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss or emancipation of any slave, but all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. It is believed the name, in parentheses, can be classified in legal terms as a debtor, property, resulting trust, constructive trust, adhesive contract, estate, or registered organization. Under their rules, and there is in parentheses, presumably by implied action, thus consent, therefore acceptance, we, the people, act as a trustee de suntort, or surety for the public war debt. The certified copy of the birth certificate sent intentionally to and for the exclusive and authorized use of an user provides the certified facts of evidence in regard to the name contained within that certificate of birth. At the top of the birth record, it reads State of XX. The original document / record / deed is retained by the state of XX. Anytime one believes he owns a name, let him go back to the state of XX and ask for the original document be sent to him and see if this can be obtained. The name or deed is property of the state of XX. The state of XX will never provide the original document, as it is believed the title to all such property remains in abeyance during military occupation and until the conquest is made complete. The Libra Code, Article 31. Everything or value in that name automatically vests benefit to the United States as beneficiary, with all property having been seized due to the declared national state of emergency. Senate Doc 43, Senate Resolution 62, April